Uh, because this is kind of like movie, TV-ish as well. Uh, Star Trek technology that has actually become a reality. So this could be interesting. I can already think of one thing that I saw in an old I saw this in like an old video about Star Trek, this is back when like cellular flip phones were all the rage, is when this video had come out. And they talked about how the handheld communicators of Star Trek in like the OG Star Trek basically were like were like the OG Motorola flip phones that were popular at the time. So yeah, I mean, a lot of the stuff you see in Star Trek kind of translates into or possibly could have inspired a lot of modern technology. So it's Simon. Simon, tell us about Star Trek technology that became a reality. And please don't be obvious.
Everybody has their little pet shows, their guilty pleasures that they watch even though many people think it's terrible. It's the sort of crap that may air late at night on the Sci-Fi Network, right between Sharknado and Frankenfish. True thing.
Okay, I'm sorry. Sharknado is a gem that went progressively stupider as the series progressed and was all the better for it. Okay, that was the ever-loving point, is that as Sharknado progressed, it got stupider and stupider, and that just made it all the more glorious. Wolfie, so did I. So did I. Okay, so for those of you that don't know what it is, Sharknado is a movie series basically that started with a tornado off the coast of basically Hollywood. I think it was it Venice Beach? I forget what beach was. And the tornado sucked up basically an unlimited amount of sharks into the funnel. And the tornado just kept going. It's not like, tornadoes normally last like 30 seconds, maybe 60 seconds, and then they'll dissipate. This tornado didn't stop. It sucked up, effectively speaking, an unlimited amount of sharks into it, and was flinging sharks all across LA. And Ian Seinberg, I forget his last name, is like, trying to get his ex-wife, played by Tara Reid, and his two children, and they're trying to dodge the sharks and saving people that are getting attacked by the sharks, and it is batshit insane. It had 5 sequels, and every sequel that followed it got even crazier and stupider. And it was fucking hilarious. If you can, watch them. Ian Ziering, thank you, Ian Ziering. Yeah, like, if you can watch it. It's fucking hilarious. I'm not gonna. Okay, I'll back it up and show you the chainsaw scene here.
Late at night on the Sci-Fi Network, right between.
This is one of them. This is, I think, from Sharknado 2 when he does this. This is not Sharknado 1. This is Sharknado 2, I believe.
Right between Sharknado and Frankenfish.
Or maybe I was even 4.
Have never been said. For many people growing up in the 1960s, that guilty pleasure was a poorly rated show that was cancelled after just 2 seasons before a letter writing fame was able to bring it back for a 3rd season, after which it was promptly cancelled again. And yes, not even I like the original series. I'm like, it's kind of bad. It's kind of bad. Let's start in the 90s. Or 1989, 1987. When did Star Trek Next Generation come along? The good one. At a time when there was literally only...
Okay, I'm sorry, Simon. TNG would not exist were it not for the gloriousness of the OG. Holy fuck, who's just tearing ass down my street in a car that needs their engine fixed? Yeah, like, let's not fuck with this, Simon. TNG, like, OG Star Trek walked so TNG could run. Okay? That's how it works. OG Star Trek OG Star Trek made it possible for TNG to exist and for TNG to fly to rockets in popularity.
3 television channels to choose from.
Oh, Leo,
this show
shut up, Wesley.
couldn't even finish off in the top 50 shows that aired that season. It was not until it began airing in syndication in the 1970s that it would gain the cult following that it has today. We are, of course, talking about Star Trek. Star Trek is home to all sorts of future technology that we wish we had, like warp drives and food replicators. It's also home to future technology.
Wait. Is the oh? So this is going to be TNG technology that became a reality, not OG. Oh. Oh, this could be good.
That we probably don't want, like teleporters, the ultimate death machine, which we addressed in a previous video. You don't use that. If some magical alien comes along and says, I've got a teleporter, be like, F no, bring down the shuttle, bitch. I'm not getting in that death machine. No.
Yeah, McCoy had it right all along. I've actually seen, I can't remember if it was like a little comic strip or if it was a short animation on YouTube where the whole, like, there are these 2 girls and they're going to use a teleporter to travel, like, to traverse, across, like they were gonna, like, use a teleporter to traverse across a city or something, make their trip quicker. And the first girl goes in, and the guy, yeah, you know what I'm talking about, Sad. Yeah, it's, like, depressing and, like, gut-wrenching because basically the teleporter literally kills the person that goes into it while simultaneously scanning every molecule of their body and then reconstituting it in the adjacent teleportation pod. So, you know, that other person has the same memories, the mind is the same. It is, technically speaking, another person. It is not actually them. And this terrifies the friend, like, I'm not getting in there. Like, it was kind of a horror story. So it's like when you go into a teleporter, it basically kills you. And the other teleporter basically, it's kind of effectively does like a clone thing. It's like, it's actually a horror story.
No way. Dr. Pulaski was right. If you haven't already seen our episode...
No, fuck you. They did that with Dr. Pulaski because of McCoy. Do not fuck with my OG gamer McCoy. McCoy was the one who hated the teleporter and insisted on taking the show. Okay? McCoy, not Pulaski. Do you remember where this trope came from, damn it?
It's on how far from a warp drive we are and why you don't want to be torn atom by a transporter. Be sure to check out those videos after this video because shameless self-promotion is what makes my world go round. Look, while a lot of the cool gadgets from Star Trek remain totally out
I
of
remember
reach,
that episode, Zad.
Don't worry, transporters ain't coming anytime soon. You're safe for now. There are, however, quite a few that have become reality. Today we're going to be taking a look at a few things that seemed futuristic when they first appeared on television in 1966, yet totally commonplace today.
Silver, I see where you're going with it. I'm actually not entirely sure if the ship of Theseus, is a good comparable. Because it's not so much that the person is getting replaced piece by piece until they become a whole, till they could theoretically become a whole new person. It's literally the whole thing that's on this comic is the person that steps into the transporter is literally gets disintegrated, not transported, and then the other pod basically does a rapid cloning of the person. So I don't think it's really the ship of Theseus
Honestly,
concept.
transporters are the key to immortality, according to one TNG episode.
Kinda. I mean, with the pattern buffer, you're talking about with the pattern buffers and everything, baby.
Removable storage. Sometimes the ideas we see in science fiction are pretty straightforward. They take something that already exists
Effectively,
and just
Canito.
imagine it just a little bit better, or imagining a new use for it, or just making it really small. Such is the case with Star Trek and their removable storage, the fancy term for floppy disks and USB drives. Now, this wasn't much of a stretch of the imagination for the creators of the show. Magnetic tape was used for reel-to-reel audio recordings in the 1930s. In the 1950s, people realized that this same medium could be used to store not only audio but also video information, resulting in the invention of the videotape recorder. This was different from the VHS tapes that you might be familiar with, and it was only for industry use, but it's the same principle. And if magnetic tape could be used to store both audio and video, then why couldn't it be used to store pure data? We now know that it can, and honestly, it seems pretty obvious, but this was non-existent future tech in 1966. The first floppy disk drive wouldn't go into R&D until 1967, and it wasn't released until 1971. 1.49 must have been less back in the day. I remember floppy disks when I was a kid were 1.
God. It's impossible to imagine storing anything on a 3-inch floppy these days. He said it had how much?
1967, and it wasn't released until 1971. 1.49 must have been less back in the day. I remember.
What was it? What was the storage capacity of the 3-inch floppies? Wasn't that like, 1.4, okay, 1.49 megabytes. Like, that's the funny part. 1.4 megabytes would not hold a single picture these days. Not even a single picture taken by your phone would fit on an old school 3-inch floppy. Imagine it. Holy crap. Really? The 5 inches had what? Yeah, you're right. The 5 inches, didn't they have weren't they like 200 kilobyte? No, couldn't have been that. Maybe it was. Were the 5-inch floppy drives like 200 kilobyte in size? Maybe 500? And yeah, I know about the 8-inch ones, yeah. Oh yeah, well, zip drives were only popular for like a hot second. Literally, it was only just like a hot second that zip drives were a thing. And because I think the technology quickly outpaced the zip drive, because it was only a couple, zip drives only lasted like a couple years. I think maybe like 3 or 4 years, the zip drive was around. And then shortly after, I think it might have been when the USB drives actually started coming out. Zip drives? Like the iOmega zip drive. Yeah, so the zip drives only lasted maybe I want to say 3 or 4 years, if that. And then the USB flash drive started to come out, and they fairly quickly just killed the zip drive. Yeah, no, yeah. I'm talking about a physical drive. Okay, fun fact. CD as well, Kaibo. CD and USB flash drives killed the zip drive in 3 or 4 years. Fun fact though, chat. Fun fact, how many of you have seen Godzilla? The 15 or 2017 with Bryan Cranston? J Trash, I'll answer that in a second. How many of you guys saw the Godzilla with Bryan Cranston? 2014. The data that he goes to collect from his house in the supposed contaminated zone, the discs he grabs are OG iOmega zip drives. Yep. He actually grabs OG zip drives in 2014. Granted, when he used them, it was not 2014, but you actually see them and what's it called? Oh fuck, what's the name of the group? Monarch. And Monarch actually had an iOmega drive they could plug it into. Okay, so quick and dirty. HDD is hard disk drive. Basically, hard disk drive is a rectangular metal case with an actual spinning
I
disk
remember
inside.
using Apple computers that use floppy disks and drives.
And everybody, a lot of people do. Yeah, HDD is it's a metal rectangle that has the traditional spinning disk inside that has an or I'm dumbing it down, Leo. I'm going very basic. But it has a spinning disk that an arm reads, like an arm inside this box reads the disk, and it's basically very similar to the 3.5 inch, 5.5 inch floppies, just on a much denser scale. Obviously, they can hold a fuck ton more data. Solid state drives are basically pure digital. They are flash drives taken to the next level. They are a pure digital drive, pure digital flash drive that is much higher capacity, lasts a lot longer than your standard flash drive, and is obviously much faster than the HDD. That is a very very quick and dirty definition of HDD versus SDD or SSD.
Floppy disk, what I reckon were 1.44 megabytes of storage, which is a joke today. Tablets. Touchscreen technology was first developed in 1965, so Star Trek isn't going to claim credit for that.
Oh, I didn't
However,
think about this
They do
one.
get to claim credit for inventing the original tablet in the form of personal access display devices, or pads.
Yes!
Of course, they are never one.
I didn't even think about these. Anish White, these are the OG tablets. Holy crap. Did you, Seb? Okay, I missed it. I missed when you said that. Yeah. These are 100% the OG tablets. I didn't even think about that.
Referred to by that name in any television series or movie, instead being referred to as things like a data slate or even just paper. That's not a tablet, that's not an iPad, that's my data slate. I'm bringing it back. The first official reference to the term pad seems to have come from a tiny excerpt in the 4th edition of the Star Trek Encyclopedia released in 2016. Whatever the creators felt like calling them at the time, there is no denying that the pads were an accurate prediction of various tablets. From Kindles to iPads, these devices were portable, roughly.
Although, one thing to note is they also had styluses. Because that's what this, and you guys can't see it because I'm in the way. This guy right here, you can see it's got a stylus. So these pads also had styluses. Like, this one could maybe be considered a Palm Pilot. These guys, definitely tablets. And if I'm gonna be basic, iPads. It's, because, I think Apple came out with the first, like, stylus designed to work with the tablet. I think. But, yeah, these are, like, the Palm Pilots. And then these are the tablets.
The size of a tablet and were often seen as being interfaced with the ship's computer the way you might connect your tablet to another device via Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. Interestingly, there are a couple of things that Star Trek seems to have gotten very wrong with regards to tablets. First is the timeline. Predicting the future is hard, so we can't really fault them for this one. However, they were extremely conservative with their estimates and predicted that these would not become commonplace until sometime in the 22nd century.
In a quasi kind of way, tornado,
this
possibly,
is only
yes.
100 years wrong, best case. Not only did we develop them faster than expected, but our tablets are far superior to the ones used on Star Trek, or so it would seem. Not only did they occasionally refer to their pads as paper, but they seem to treat them as such as well. Our modern tablets are
I'm gonna disagree, because there were a couple times where they actually facilitated ship controls through their tablets. In Star Trek, especially like in engineering, they would use these tablets, and not only were they for like showing reports and monitoring, they also had ship controls done through the tablets. So, Simon, don't go there. They the ones were pretty advanced in Star Trek.
essentially full-on computers. And on the show, they seem to serve individual functions. It was not uncommon to see someone with a stack of tablets on their desk, each for a different purpose. One may have navigation data on it, while another could just be a novel that the character was reading for pleasure. Amateur tablet use. In fairness to the creators, data storage was pretty shit at the time. When the show began, the world's first ever 8-inch floppy drives weren't even being developed yet, so we can forgive them for thinking that a single tablet holding the entire text of War and Peace would be impressive, even if that was the only thing that the tablet could do. Addictive and predatory mobile games.
What?
This entry comes from Star Trek The Next Generation.
Wait. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay, this is because that's what I was wondering. Like, this would kind of be a toss-up between mobile games and VR. Because the episode he's about to reference, it was more like VR. And it's hard to say if this would be considered a mobile game. Yeah. Yeah.
Did I jump scare you?
Yes.
I bet I did.
God damn it, Charlie! No, not Barkley. Did this, but and he may bring up holodeck addiction, but that's not mobile games. He's referring to Wesley. Not Wesley. Riker went to, I think it was Risa, and some girl that he hooked up with put on, to have him try out this game. It was like a headset that basically fired 2 little light beams into your eyes, and you basically saw a holographic representation of basically a small grid with a cone thing sticking out of it, and you had to use your mind to make a disc go into the cone, and when you did that, you got a shot of basically the pleasure centers of your brain got stimulated. It was basically a combination of addictive mobile games and drugs. Is where at the time, it was basically you got a dopamine hit. This was more like at the time it came out. This was more pointing, making a message about drugs than mobile games, because obviously mobile games did not exist back then. So that was basically Star Trek's like anti-drug episode. Was that particular episode, because it caught the entire fucking crew ended up getting hooked on these drugs and essentially getting mind controlled by the woman. Ended up essentially being mind controlled by the woman who gave Riker, the woman in her group that gave Riker the game in the first place. So, mobile games, this is kind of a stretch. I do understand where he's going with it. It's a little bit of a stretch, but WoW is not a mobile game. That's the thing. WoW is not a mobile game. As far as the holodeck addiction thing, that was when you were first introduced to Barkley. Barkley basically hated his own life so much. He disliked himself so much. He was constantly using the holodeck to basically make himself seem better than what he is. He would program in realistic scenarios with the crew and make himself seem like he's so much better than he actually is, because he had like a insanely low self-esteem, and actually was using the holodeck to have a romance with Deanna True. So that was the whole holodeck addiction thing. Again, dealing with addiction.
My favourite Star Trek, and it's a reminder that not all future tech is a good thing. The writers of the show were extremely ahead of their time with this one, and they'll probably be disappointed to discover just how accurate their prediction was. The 106th episode of TNG is titled The Game. It's a classic-ish episode where Riker returns from vacation on a pleasure planet with a highly addictive augmented reality game. He gets the rest of the crew of the Enterprise addicted to the game as well.
Okay, now again, what Simon is not saying here is a woman gave him this game, he brings the game back, and yes, he starts getting them addicted to it, but that was it was with nefarious intentions. The woman who introduced him to the game did so because it's highly addictive, with the intention of basically getting the Enterprise and the crew. So there's a key thing, it was done with nefarious purposes. This is not just like, oh, it's a mobile game and we'd all just and the crew just happened to get addicted to it. This was done with actual evil intentions in mind. Here's my Now, I can't remember. Was Jordy addicted to? Because, honestly, I don't know how Jordy could have gotten addicted to this game. I don't know how this would have fucking worked, because Jordy's blind. Yeah, it was Wesley and this girl that Wesley hooked up with, although she ended up getting hooked up. She ended up getting it strapped to her head in the end anyway. And Data, of course, because he's an android. This was always a plot point that bugged me. How the hell did Jordy get addicted to this game when the man is blind? I mean, they didn't show them reconfiguring it to work with his visor or anything. Yeah, but he doesn't see in normal vision. No, his visor does not allow him to see in normal vision. That's the problem. His visor allows him to see basically literally every spectrum simultaneously, and he had to, over time, figure out how to filter it in his own mind. It was a neural cortex game, but he has to be able to see the fucking game to be able to do it, and he's blind. I mean, maybe they can figure a way to rejigger it into working with his visor. I don't think they ever said, though, and that's kind of just like a little thing that irked me.
Classic Riker.
He won, Rubbo. That's what he said. He
Everyone's
said
least
something I
favourite
learned.
character ever, Wesley Crusher, classic Wesley, to save the day with the help of his new love interest, Ashley Judd. It seems like
Wait! I did not realize that the girl he hooks up with in that episode was Ashley Judd. I didn't realize that.
You just lost the game.
Yeah, well, you know what I have to say to that?
I want to play a game.
Guess whose game wins? I had no idea Ashley Judd. Apparently, Grandmother, I had no clue. I did not realize that was her.
Ashley Judd. It seems like such a strange and goofy premise for an episode, especially since Star Trek wasn't the kind of show to go around blaming the evils of society on video games and rock music. In the show, the game was able to be so addictive by stimulating the pleasure centers of the brain each time the player completed a level, though how it got Riker to spread the game to the rest of the ship is unclear. I can tell you how. Look how many people are playing mobile games, and how do you think they heard about them? Word of mouth. Riker's just spreading it.
Well, how he spread out is when he came back to the ship with the game, he talked to some of his friends and said, "I got this new game. Do you want to give it a try?" They tried it. They got hooked just like Riker did, and they started using the replicators to make more of them. And it just spread. And they said, and those people said to their friends, "Hey, do you want to try this?" And they try it, they get hooked, they replicate, they go to their friends, they say, "Hey, do you want to try this?" They get hooked, and so on and so forth. And again, it was a commentary about drugs, not mobile games, because mobile games were not a thing back then. So you could translate it to modern day with mobile games, but Tornado, anything. I think they do have some limitations, but fundamentally speaking, replicators can kind of make anything. They are like magic.
Word of mouth. This is exactly the same way that free-to-play mobile games are designed today. Games are specifically designed to create addiction by releasing tiny hits of dopamine, and they
yes, Tornado, they
incentivize
could,
players
although they are
spreading it to
limited
their
by
friends
power.
with in-game rewards. The ultimate goal of the game in Star Trek wasn't entirely clear, but here in the real world, it's money, baby. Cold hard.
No, the intention in the episode was made perfectly clear. This girl and her companions wanted to basically take the Enterprise, and I think the crew, and sell them off to the highest fucking bidder. That intention was very fucking clear in the episode.
Cash. Everyone's favorite AR game, Pokemon, grossed nearly $1 billion in 2020, the 5th year since the game's release, and its most profitable ever. It turns out that engineering a game specifically for the purpose of being addictive is extremely effective, to the point that there have been pushes to make
Yeah,
the
no, the replicators cannot make people. No, they
While
cannot.
Star Trek may have accidentally hit the nail on the head with the game, it was society that dropped the ball on this one. You saw a TV show that
can make
featured an
inanimate
entire
objects and food.
planet
That's it.
dedicated to hedonistic pleasure, and instead of working towards that, you decided that you should make a free-to-play monetized game. Brilliant work, world. Thank you. Video conferencing. Technically, the first video call took place
Here
at
we
the
go.
1964 World's Fair, 2 years before Star Trek premiered. However, it would not become commercially available until 1970, and even then, it barely was. It was far from successful, and people didn't really know what to do with it. The idea of video calls may have already existed, but Star Trek was the first one to actually show a practical use for it. It's all too common in any iteration of the show for the captain to request an incoming communication to be put on screen. We could watch as characters would talk to one another by looking directly at their screens. They probably didn't realize it, but they had solved the problem that would plague video phone companies for decades to come. The issue with video phones is that no one, including the people marketing them, really had any idea what the hell to do with them. How do you get someone to stare at a screen on the phone connected to their wall or sitting on their nightstand while they have a conversation? The answer is, you just don't. What Star Trek understood was that the key wasn't to put the screen on a phone, it was to make the phone part of the screen that someone was already staring at. Virtual assistants. Typing can be a bit of a pain
here
in
we
the ass.
go.
Even though Star Trek was already predicting widespread use of touchscreen technology, that still required the use of their
True
hands,
enough.
which could be better used for other things. Why waste your time with something so cumbersome when you could just tell the computer what you wanted to do? Voice recognition technology.
Yeah, I didn't really think about it, but yeah, Next Generation really did showcase touchscreen technology. Which, for ship controls, would fucking suck. I would hate having to pilot a starship using touchscreen controls. There's a reason why I fucking love Elite Dangerous, because your flight controls is a throttle and stick. Good old Unga Bunga throttle and stick flight controls instead of the touchscreen, which is far too fucking easy to hit the wrong thing on a touchscreen. Okay? Those of you typing in my chat right now from your phones know precisely what I'm talking about. It is too... Jesus! Chat, I'm all wet. She may be all wet, chat. Yes, Redmond, yes, in the second to last movie, I think it was, they had that moment where using the ram scoops, he initiated manual control and a big fucking flight stick came up on the ground and he used a flight stick to control to fly the Enterprise. Yep. Yes, anybody that has used a smartphone knows just how bad touchscreen controls would be to try and fly a starship. And Ventura, Bigfoot, thank you for the follow. Yeah, exactly. J-Trash? Yes, exactly right. It's, when you're flying the ship, you want a physical throttle and flight stick. And then for things like selecting scanners or whatnot, yeah, you can have touch controls. But for flying, weapons triggers, power adjustments, things like that, you want physical controls. Definitive physical controls. Keyboard and mouse counts as a physical control, Tornado. That still counts as a physical control.
Technology was first being developed in 1971, but when Star
Voice
Trek
recognition,
premiered,
okay.
it was still just pure science fiction. Not only could the ship's computer accept voice commands, but the communication was a two-way street. The computer could both take orders and respond to questions, though it didn't really engage in any small talk. Fast forward to the present, and this technology has become part of many people's daily lives. A unreliable part of their lives. I'm often yelling at Siri, and it's just not. It's like, we've sent results to your iPhone that are
I can't tell you how many times I've been on stream and I've said something and my freaking phone goes off. That's why sometimes you suddenly see me freeze and not move. but you'll still hear me talking, is because I said something that triggered the assistant on my phone that starts listening to me like, what do you want? And it's like, no, motherfucker, I didn't say the magic words to make you go off. God damn it. I theoretically, Atsamashi, I could. But I'm lazy. I don't want to disable it right before stream and then have to turn it back on afterwards. Because I do use it like when I'm driving. Like when I'm driving, I will use the voice assistant very frequently. And so I'm not gonna turn it off. Yeah, actually, yeah, tornado. Okay. If I do it right now, like if I say anything that even sounds remotely close to Siri, my phone is going to trigger. Thankfully, it didn't just now. Holy crap. But it's happened a couple times where I've said something that's close to the trigger phrase for my iPhone, and Siri kicks in, and I lock up. Oh, there it goes. Oh. Okay, maybe the iPhone 16 is different and it doesn't do that. Why so serious? And no, that doesn't trigger it. I just tried. Oh, dragon! Yes! I love Scotty. Ah! Hello, computer.
Completely irrelevant. Thanks, Siri. Thanks, Siri. What it is good for is turning off all these lights and stuff. All of my studio's automated, and I love that shit. The computers on Star Trek are everything that we wish Siri and Alexa were. They could understand what people were saying.
Oh my god, Simon! Oh my god. How many of you guys just had either your phones or your Alexa devices just activate when he just did that?
So does that mean we can trigger it? Hey Siri, what pi to the 30th place?
Well, it's not gonna trigger mine. I'm wearing headphones, so my phone can't hear that. Ha 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 ha. Everyone else watching the stream just had their phones trigger though. Trying to be on a call with the friends of the moment you hear I am on Xbox, someone would shout, Xbox turn off. That's right, Xbox had that voice control.
They gave useful information beyond the top Google result for the
yes,
question.
Alex, I'm sure.
Definitely didn't. Nailed it, Kevin, who wrote the script. Currently, they could understand what people were saying, and they gave useful information beyond the top Google result for the question it thought you asked, but definitely didn't. Nailed it, Kevin, who wrote the script. Currently, virtual assistants still leave a lot to be desired, though the majority of that is just the result of the limitations of available voice recognition technology. Once our devices can actually understand what we're saying, they'll finally do what we tell them to, instead of just pulling up reviews for our local Chinese takeout restaurants when we didn't ask for that in any way whatsoever.
Imagine saying something so naughty that the smartphone blows up.
JRC, I know you like to think you have this incredibly dirty mind. You're not gonna blow up your smartphone with dirty thoughts. Your smartphone's just gonna say, sorry, I can't answer that. It's gonna turn into hell and say, I can't do that, Dave.
Siri. Sadly, no matter how advanced our virtual assistants get, it's near certain
Alexa
that we'll
also
never
doesn't
be able
like
to
the
say
Scottish
tea,
accent, J-Trash.
okay, pot, and have a cup of tea magically appear. This is very sad, and now I'll do you a wonderful favor. Alexa, play Despacito. Enjoy the future, everybody! Bluetooth earbuds. As we said earlier, one of the keys for sci-fi future tech is to...
Okay, is this gonna be is this gonna be like the earbud that Uhura wore in OG Star Trek with Bluetooth earbuds? That's the only one I can think of. I don't think Next Gen had anyone that had that earpiece. Yes, Connor's Dragon. Yes, bravo, Simon. You got one of my chat. Oh. I don't think anyone in Next Gen had that earbud though. I think it was only OG Star Trek. Oh yeah, really? I don't remember Kim using that. It's been a while. It's been some time. It's been some time since I saw Voyager, so I could be and I don't know if I watched every single Voyager episode either. Oh God, how many of you guys had your Alexas just triggered by that? Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Oh, oh, hang on a second. Hang on. Alexa, play You Spin Me Round. Did it work? Did it work? Huh? Huh?
Take something that already exists and then make it better. Telephones existed, but holding the receiver either required using one of your hands or holding your neck at an uncomfortable angle and hoping the phone just didn't fall away. This problem had already been solved by the time Star Trek aired, and hands-free headsets were already common among telephone operators and other professions. But what if the design could be even better? First, that cord has got to go. Cords are a pain in the arse, and nobody likes to be tethered to a location like that. The earliest devices that were referred to as wireless headphones already existed, but these were just portable battery-powered radios that used headphones instead of a speaker. The increased versatility of a wireless headset was a natural inevitability, but we'll give Star Trek some points for this easy prediction. More importantly, they chose to ditch the headset altogether, instead giving Uhura the equivalent.
Hi, chat. You drove me to this. Alexa. I'm laughing too much. Alexa, play Wet Pussy. Did it work? Oh, damn it. Alexa, Rickroll. Did it work? Did it work?
Of a Bluetooth earbud. The only real difference between her earbud and modern day versions
Damn
is
it.
that instead of wrapping around the ear to be held in place or being extremely small to the point of being nearly invisible, Uhura's earbud jutted straight out from her ear. This is a pretty bizarre design decision, but
Yeah.
it was also a prop for a TV show. Having
A prop for a TV show in the 50s or 40s? Like, leave us not forget, this concept was 60s? Okay, 1960s. Sorry. I don't know why I keep aging Star Trek even older than it is. Yeah, so like in the 1960s, this was basically the concept of the radio antenna. This was kind of their sci-fi ideology of that. So it basically, she was wearing an earpiece with an antenna on it. I mean, why are you putting me in a cage? What are you scared of, Chad? Are you scared of little me? Huh? So for the 1960s, this was high fucking tech for the 1960s. Everybody thought that this was the future, that you have an earpiece with a giant fucking antenna coming off of it. Obviously, things have changed.
having the earpiece be so small that it couldn't be seen would force viewers to use their imagination, and at that point we may as well have been reading books instead of watching TV like idiots. A device that wrapped around the ear would have been visible and made more sense, but perhaps they just didn't think that would look futuristic enough. Mobile phones. Finally, the example you almost certainly already know, as apparently any video on this topic is legally required to include it, and that's, of course, mobile phones. The communicators from Star Trek not only predicted mobile phones.
Okay, this is like a duo thing here, because not only do you have, so the mobile phone can be originated from the OG Star Trek with the little flip-out communicators. That was emulated by the flip phones. That inspired the OG, like Motorola flip phones, was the OG Star Trek communicators. The Star Trek The Next Generation ones? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, Zippuds. Specifically the Motorola flip phones from like the 1980s. the next generation and beyond ones that have the communicator on their Starfleet badge that they pin to their chest, that would actually be closer to smart devices like smartwatches. And I'm wondering if he's gonna bring that up because the communicator pins that they wore is more akin to wearable devices. So basically, essentially the earbuds. Your earbuds also can be triggered by your voice assistant. Yeah, I was getting there, Xanax. So yeah, the comm badges. Thank you. The word escaped me for a second. Yeah. So comm badges of Star Trek Next Generation would be like today's either earbuds or smartwatches or even smart glasses. And I'm wondering if, and there was even a badge one that someone tried to make that went nowhere. There was actually a Kickstarter project, I think, that was an actual wearable badge that linked to your smartphone that was like a portable little AI wearable smart piece of technology that I think went nowhere because it was a piece of shit. So somebody did try to actually make a Star Trek comm badge, effectively speaking, and it did not go well. But we still have the wearable technology.
They directly inspired them. The original communicator resembled a flip phone, and Motorola engineer Martin Cooper has explicitly stated that the show inspired him to design the world's first mobile phone, originally demonstrated in 1973. Early phones were enormously bulky and looked nothing like the beloved Star Trek communicators, but it was only a matter of time before that changed. Well, not the first flip phone on the market. When Motorola released the first flip phone in 1996, they named it the Motorola StarTAC. An obvious but legally distinct nod to the classic science fiction show that inspired both the original technology and the new design. Now, most of these technologies were not the invention of Star Trek writers. In fact, none of them probably were. Though they may have existed in science fiction long before Kirk first boarded the Enterprise, it was Star Trek from which they are best known. That or for, being real things that actually exist now. The show may not have been the original source of these ideas, but it is what brought the ideas into the mainstream consciousness. We spent a lot of time on this channel telling you either how impossible the things you want are, or how at the very least you'll never see them in your lifetime, and we're sorry about that, but it's nice to take the time now and then to remember that not everything from science fiction remains fiction. Yeah. Thanks for watching.
Oh, so he didn't say it. Yeah. So I said it then. That the comm badges utilized in Star Trek The Next Generation is very much akin to the wearable smart devices that we have today. So that is another piece of Star Trek technology that we kind of have in our modern day is the wearable smart devices, earbuds, watches, smart glasses. That's basically kind of like the Star Trek concept. Well, Zeb, the 3D printers is... I mean, it was only a 13-minute video, so I'm guessing he only had so much time. Yeah, I vaguely remember something similar to Google Glass and DS9 zip ties. Vaguely. Tricorders would probably be... Tricorders are a bit beyond, because they were scanners, so tricorders really wouldn't. I don't think we really have a modern day equivalent of tricorders, because yeah, they are basically magic. You basically can do anything with a tricorder. Oh, I know. Yeah, they're like 3D printers have advanced since they first came out, and I know that they're working on 3D printers for food. There's 3D printer like metal 3D printers. Yeah, I mean they are definitely on the way.